Good evening, all. It is my pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Nicole Benjamin, and I will serve as this evening's moderator. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization, and in accordance with League policy, I am not a voter in this district and am a member of Rivertown League of Women Voters. Now let's go over a few of the ground rules. The order of opening statements will be determined by lots that were drawn before the debate. The order of closing statements will be in the reverse order of opening statements. The order in which the candidates will respond to further questions will be rotated to ensure fairness. Throughout this evening's debate, no comments of a personal nor abusive nature will be permitted. Each candidate has 1 minute for their opening statement. Candidates will then have 1 minute to answer each question. The timekeeper will indicate when 30 seconds remain in the allowed speaking time, and again, when time is up. Candidates are granted 1 rebuttal of 30 seconds each. At conclusion of questioning period, each candidate will have 1 minute for their closing statement. Opening statement shall begin. Mr. Hayden.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Benjamin. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to address the community. I'm Ivar Hayden, and I'm running for re-election to City Council in District 4. It has been a privilege to serve my constituents and the city as a whole for the past 11 years. Together, we have survived a pandemic and social and political trauma that threatened to divide our common goals. This city we love is now poised to become a model for our region, with new transit-oriented growth in the downtown core that is providing the revenue needed to strengthen our school system, build new affordable housing, and enable a host of social equity and cultural programs that benefit our diverse community. I'm an artist, not a politician. I'm a husband, a father, a small business owner here in New Rochelle for the past 30 years. I have been a public servant for 20 of those years, starting with the Municipal Art Commission. I am not a self-promoter or ambitious for higher office. I quietly and effectively do my job by building consensus with my colleagues in government, city staff, the business community,
Thank you, Mr. Hayden.
And especially my constituents.
Mr.
I work for the common good.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Local elections matter. What happens on city councils impact our daily lives, and it sets precedents for other cities as well. So this is very important that you're here, and thank you. And thank you to the League of Voters for Women Voters for hosting us. My name is Shane Ocean Loyer. I am a lifelong resident of New Rochelle. I learned during my campaign that I've lived in every neighborhood of my district, District 4. I am a consultant, so I want to bring a data-driven approach to sitting on city council. I am a consultant, so I cannot be fooled by consulting jargon. I'm a nonprofit founder, so I'm also boots on the ground when it comes to interacting with the community. I've also co-founded with a lot of support, or as a support, co-founded 2 PTSAs, and I'm also on the board of MBK and the African American Advisory Committee. These things are important because it means that I'm on the front lines as a data-driven strategist. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Questioning shall now begin. What is your position on the city's decision to allow a drive-through Starbucks under the apartments on Main Street and Echo? Mr. Ocean Loyer.
I just want to start this off by saying I love Starbucks. I'm in Starbucks every day. I don't mind saying that. The drive-through aspect of it is the issue. One of the maybe 5 main priorities that I have. One of them is climate change and climate action. And having a drive-through next to an open-air basketball court where I used to play basketball, where my friends used to play basketball and still do because many of them still live there, is irresponsible. And if you've ever read The Warmth of Other Suns, you know that we have one sky and one set of oxygen to deal with. So even if you're not right next to it, the decisions that are being being made in communities of color, in disadvantaged communities, are affecting all of our health, and community health is another one of my platforms that I stand on.
Mr. Hayden.
You know, it's curious that you bring that question up. I think, first of all, that's not in District 4, but of course all of us on City Council represent the entire city. This is something that is personal to me, and I think that Shane knows the story. I was not happy with the vote on City Council that I made to support the Starbucks. I made a decision at the time that it was more important to build consensus with other members of the City Council than be the one dissenting vote. Making it a 6-1 vote, the project still would have gone through, but I would have not been able to work as conveniently with some of my other colleagues on council. So it was a governing decision that was made, but I can speak honestly when I say that I was not happy with that vote. And probably over the 11 years I've been on council, it's the one vote that I really am not at all happy with. Thank you.
Do you support...
I'm sorry. I'd really like to rebut that, please. I would just like to say that being a council member, being a council person, you're supposed to set the guidance for what leadership looks like in this city. That's a part of your job. And there are times to be a leader. I'm starting out my platform day one with climate action so that when decisions like that are being made, you already know the direction that I'm going to vote in. And it is not enough for the people that are going to be dealing with respiratory health issues to say, I just feel bad about my vote.
Mr.
Could I rebut that, please?
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to say that, you know, I think the thing here that Shane needs to understand is that one vote on city council does not make city policy. It takes 4 votes to make city policy. When you're in a consensus situation on a board, you have to make decisions, and you have to make more than one decision on one issue over a long period of time. It's very important to have the trust of your colleagues. It would have been easy for me to stand up and say, you know, I'm the righteous person here, and I'm going to be the one vote on council that does not support this, but that would have not been beneficial under the situation.
Do you support extending high-rise zoning from the downtown north along North Avenue to Waikagill? Mr. Hayden.
From North Avenue to Waikagill? Is that what the question is?
Yes.
You mean along North Avenue?
Do you support extending high-rise zoning from downtown north along North Avenue to Waikagill?
No, I do not. But again, that's not a question for City Council District 4. But no, I do not support that. I want to maintain protection for residential neighborhoods that already exist in New Rochelle. That's always been my position. It's been true for all of the neighborhoods that I represent, like Glenwood Lake and Residence Park and the Pelham Road corridor. I do not want to see dense development along any of those areas.
Mr. Oceanloye.
My godmother lives in District 5. My church is in District 3. Some of the people that I love live in District 1, and this idea that we can only answer questions or only think for District 4 is a part of the issue that we've had in New Rochelle instead of having a community focus. And again, this fear of other people on the council more than wanting to cooperate with the communities that are between these areas. That is one of the biggest issues that we've had in New Rochelle that has resulted in what we've seen and experienced on a daily basis with this development. My first response would be no. That would be my first response because that would be my platform. But it would be my responsibility to speak to all of the communities between here and there to see what they believe should happen in their neighborhoods, in their protected zones, in where they grew up. That would be my job.
Do you support the modification or cancellation of SALT, which limits the property tax deduction to $10,000? Mr. Oceanloye.
We have to understand that we need to drive revenue in this city. We also need to look at issues of parking. We need to look at different ways that we can create capital without it being on the heads of homeowners in New Rochelle. We also need to look at how to create more home ownership so that we're splitting the bill and having 10,000 units of rentals that aren't contributing the property taxes that each homeowner would does not split the bill enough for all of New Rochelle, and it's not sustainable. So I would look at property tax caps. I'd want to see what the math is. Another issue with the city council is that the budget is only available on the PDF. So even me as a consultant, I couldn't tear down the numbers to see, well, if we change taxes in this area or if we drove revenue with this issue, what effect would that have on the budget over the next 3 to 5 years?
Mr. Hayden.
Yeah, I think SALT should be reinstated without question. I also think that, yeah, the budget is a critical instrument for all of us here in New Rochelle. The $150 million, roughly, is the total budget in the city here, 75% of which is unfunded mandates, so that we actually have 25% of that money to work with for other projects. I should say that so far we have built or under construction 6,000 units of residential rental housing, 1,200 affordable units, 550 of those are workforce. We've also started a condo project now with 500 approved condos in the new DOZs, which will enable people to, at lower middle income people, to be able to get home ownership, and tied with our first-time home buyers program, we'll be able to help them with down payments and grants. There's a lot of stuff that I would love to be able to talk about but these questions are not related specifically to the things that we're dealing with here in New Rochelle.
Development in New Rochelle.
I'm sorry, Nicole. I'd like to rebut that because.
You've used all of your rebuttals. Both gentlemen used all of your rebuttals.
Oh, sorry.
Development in New Rochelle has not resulted in a reduction of city taxes, nor reduced the number of residents who are severely rent mortgage burdened. Green spaces are yet to be seen, and the Black Box Theater remains unused. What would you do to fulfill the unmet promises of development? Mr. Hayden.
Well, as I just started to say, of the 6,000 units that are under construction right now, 1,200 of those are affordable, 550 at workforce levels, which are 30 to 60% of AMI. Not trying to make it too complicated, but those 550 units are affordable to working class people. We're also approving 500 new condos, as I said, and we're going to start with affordable condos first. I think that to date, what this has meant is $15 million in community benefits and fair share mitigation has come from the development. $3.5 million has gone to the schools. Projected over the pilot years, $83 million will go to the city and $177 million to the school district. All of this is what is paying for the sewer and infrastructure updates, traffic signalization, lots and lots of other things. As far as the Black Box Theater goes, that is near and dear to my heart because I was involved in negotiations on that, and I am longing to get that open, and hopefully it will get open by the end of this year. There are legal issues surrounding that.
Mr. Oceanloye.
I'm put in a difficult position every time I'm in a debate with my sitting council person, because every time I want to talk about something more progressive like green space, something more like home ownership, I'm busy just rebutting the things that are said about what the city has done. You have a home buying program that has 14 people waiting on homes right now, but you've approved 10,000 units of residency. 5% of it, by the way, when he says 550 units are affordable, that's 5% of the development that they've greenlit. That is not acceptable by any means. And instead of talking about things like generational wealth, instead of talking about things like clean energy investment, other things that the ball has been dropped on, we are still going over the bad numbers and the bad paperwork of the discrepancies of things that you guys have not been able to accomplish, especially you sitting here with 12 years on the city council, but not a politician.
Am I allowed to rebut that, please?
No, Mr. Hyde.
No, I'm not. Okay.
Can you suggest ways to economize in the city budget that will positively affect taxes? Mr. Oceanloye.
Sure. I'd actually like to bring up a project of somebody that I know was supporting EVAR before I had a conversation with them. And right down by my house, they had a very intelligent idea to take the existing city property that's there and look at creating parking units. Parking is not the number one issue to New Rochelians, because when I knock on their doors, the number one thing they want to know about is affordable housing. But parking is incredibly important. I know that as a driver myself, and as a lifelong New Rochelle resident, that, again, being able to go through the city budget item by item and actually do the math on the deals that can be done, that will tell us where we would be the strongest in reinvesting into our city in a way that's sustainable and would actually support the voters of New Rochelle.
Mr. Hyden.
That is the number one thing we do, is go over the city budget. We don't leave that to chance. I do think, if you're talking about the project behind Harbor House, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I did not support the idea of building an additional building behind Harbor House in an area that's already dense. It was pitched to me not as a parking structure, but as another residential building that was way too large for the space. And I've heard a lot from people along the Pelham Road corridor who are not happy at all with increased density and development in that area.
Thank you. We have yet to return to the number of units of low-income housing prior to the refurbishing of the public housing properties off of Lincoln and Division Streets. What would you propose to help low-income families in New Rochelle? Mr. Hyden.
Well, the problem with that for us is that it takes federal dollars to do that. Only the federal government has deep enough pockets to build low-income housing. We simply cannot afford to do that. We have been able to stretch things a bit by building workforce housing, 6,000 units of housing so far, of which 550 of those are workforce. That's a little more than the numbers that Shane was talking about. I think that the way we can continue doing this is by incentivizing through the IDA as many projects as possible that have deep affordability, and doing everything we can, but without federal support, there is no way that we can build low-income housing that is viable economically for a city like ours.
Mr. Oceanloye.
Sure. Before federal support, we need actually the leadership of people that are sitting on the city council at the moment. And one of the reasons why I'm running is to be able to create affordable housing in that area, because I grew up on 50 Guyon Place, and I know what it's like to have to move to the other side of New Rochelle because we can't find housing. So I'm at the Harbor Houses right now because of that. The Link is a project where we receive state funding as a spark towards investment in that community, and we have an opportunity to have leadership there and pull the federal government together with the county and the state, with local developers, with local organizations who can own these things and who have already done projects that are successful as far as creating affordable housing. But first and foremost, before the federal government, it takes the willful action of the people that are sitting on the city council of New Rochelle, not just of District 4, but of New Rochelle.
It is now time for closing statements. As stated, closing statements will be presented in reverse order of opening statements. We will begin with Mr. Oceanloye, 1 minute.
Thank you. Again, thank you everyone tonight for coming out here, for sticking it through, because this is important. The decisions that are made on a daily basis impact our city and others that we set an example for. I'm not running against Ivar Hayden. I'm running for District 4 as a lifelong New Rochelle resident, as somebody that loves my city, that I'm trying desperately to help my friends not ever leave it. I'm trying to create reinvestment into our local economy, bring in that investment that we need for clean energy, because another way to help people that are low income or workforce is to bring investment in and actually create an economy instead of depending on New York City. New Rochelle is a powerhouse. We have the talent here. Every single person watching right now, you know what you do on a daily basis, and it will be my job to pull you together and pull us together so that we can bring incredible projects into New Rochelle. Thank you.
Hayden.
Thank you all for listening this evening, and I hope that I've been able to provide some information that will help you decide who should represent you for the next 4 years. I'm as sick of political infighting as all of you are. The Trump years have been toxic for our country and still affect us all by creating tribalism and mistrust of elected officials. I should maybe tell you that in 2016, I was one of only 2 elected officials in Westchester County who supported Bernie Sanders. The other was my council colleague, Jared Rice. I firmly believe in sensible, progressive policy and have been the most consistently progressive member of council during my term in office. I'm just really sorry this evening that we haven't been able to get into any of this stuff in real detail, just a lot of bluster. I want to continue serving all the people of my city with honesty and compassion, driven by a genuine belief that good people should come together and work together to achieve what we all want to see for the future of our city. We have a tremendous opportunity. Thank you. Sorry, John.
Thank you. Thank you to our candidates, and thank you to our audience. I would like to remind you that tonight's debate is live on Optimum 75 and Verizon 28 and will be available to you on video until June 26th. Thank you for your participation, and we will take a slight pause for our last debate of this evening, County Legislator, District 11.